रामानुजदयापात्रं ज्ञानवैराग्यभूषणं श्रीमद्वेङ्कटनाथार्यं वन्दे वेदान्तदेशिकं लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यम् अच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये माता पिता युवतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानाम् आद्यस्य नः कुलपतेर्वकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रियुगलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वय भट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसार कुलशेखर योगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणु परकाल यतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम्। वेदेषु पौरुषं सूक्तं धर्मशास्त्रेषु मानवं भारते भगवद्गीता पुराणेषु च वैष्णवम्। A very good evening to the Astikas who have gathered here. Despite Varuna Bhagavan being extremely bountiful and benevolent on us, and despite the country of the Far East and the immediate West playing on the ground, if you have all made, so we are very lucky to be hosting all of you for the lecture series which is beginning today. So this month, November, we are beginning with lecture 1. So this is Purusha Suktam. Purusha Suktam may continue for 2 to 3 lectures more. The next lecture will be in January. We'll let you know the dates very soon. Then subsequently, we are hopeful and we pray that we can cover lectures on the Shri Suktam, Bhu Suktam, Neela Suktam, Narayana Suktam, Vishnu Suktam, Shri Rudram and Chamakam. But to cover all of this, especially Shri Rudram, it is very vast. It has got 11 Anuvakams. Let us see how much we can cover, or we can extend that 10 into 15, we don't know. But considering, technically when an organizer asks me for topics, it will invariably be centered around the Ramayana, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Mahabharatam, Sriman Narayaniyam, Divya Prabandham, the Charitram of various Alvars, so on and so forth. But we thought we could venture into the Vedic topics as well. And especially Purusha Suktam has one particular mantra which is a point of contention, especially amongst the lesser educated politicians. That mantra will also be handled in the subsequent lectures. Before we begin Purusha Suktam, it is very important that we understand the basis of the Vedas, because whatever topics we are going to discuss in the 10 to 12 lectures are all from the Vedas. It is not even Vedanta. It is Vedas. So considering it is from Vedam, Vedokhilo Dharma Moolam, Anantavai Vedaha, these are all eternal sayings that our acharyas will always begin their Shri Mukham with. Vedokhilo Dharma Moolam, Anantavai Vedaha. These are all the sayings. And from next lecture onwards, I'm sure you will carry a book and a pen. If you're not, feel free to record the lecture, because it is very important that you carry the audio and you can always listen. So either audio record or take notes, do something. Because generally in Sanatana Dharma, we think that protection of the Dharma is not a collective responsibility. Somehow we feel, we have come to the conclusion there will be 3-4 people who will fight for Dharma. Somehow Sanatana Dharma is eternal, sir. It will defend itself. It can't. It needs Astikas to defend. And the best element to defend Dharma is when we know Dharma. When we know the nuances of the meanings, we can defend the Dharma. Remember, Acharyas always say Dharma will always come to your rescue when you take steps to protect dharma. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. So rakshanam is our karyam. Kshatram is a gunam. See, kshatram is a word that we always indicate for the valor of the kshatriyas. That kshatram should be within us. And for that, we need to keep listening. For that, we need to start taking notes. For that taking notes, I had to give this lecture. So, in Vedam, I will, and by the end of 12 lectures, you would have completed at least 2 levels of Sanskritam. Sure, because I have to read many passages from the Vedic texts. Do not, attending first lecture, do not think it is difficult. You will get used to the difficulty. It will not become easy. See, if somebody says, I'll make it easy, then they are actually bluffing. Certain texts are tough. And it is my responsibility to make it engaging and easy. At the same time, you should also take efforts to listen to this lecture at least twice before you come for the next lecture. Sir, for lectures should we work so much? Yes, in Sanatana Dharma you have to work. Now, coming to this dhyana shlokam that I said, it is a very interesting dhyana shlokam which has been quoted by the Trimatacharyas, be it Madhvacharya, Bhagavad Ramanuja or Adi Shankara. They have quoted this particular shloka. Vedeshu Paurusham Suktam. In amongst the Vedic passages, it is the Purusha Sukta. Vedeshu Paurusham Suktam. Dharma Shastreshu Manavam. Amongst the Dharma Shastras that are there, it is Manu Dharma Shastra. You will not react to it. Had I told this in Chennai, there will be a huge debate for 4 days. But this shloka says, Dharma Shastreshu Manavam. Bharate Bhagavad Gita. In the Bharatam passages, which is in Sri Mahabharatam, it is Bhagavad Gita. Puraneshu cha Vaishnavam. Vishnu Puranam amongst the Puranas. This is regarded, these 4 texts, Bhagavad Gita in Mahabharatam, Vishnu Puranam in the Puranas, Purusha Suktam in the Vedas, and Manu Dharma Shastram amongst the Dharma Shastras. It seems that these bring the quintessence of Dharma. Sir, in Dharma Shastram, let Manu Dharma Shastram be there. In Mahabharatam, let Bhagavad Gita be there. In the Vedas too, okay, Purusha Suktam, let it be there. But in Puranas, why didn't Bhagavatam feature? Why is Vishnu Puranam coming? Correct? All this question I'll answer in the due course. So, Purusha Suktam is very important. Why is it important? For that, we need to understand the basis of Vedas. There is one Prachina Shlokam, the commentator says, I'll talk about the list of commentators. It is very important for us to understand the Vedic passages. Here he says, Andhakare Deepikabhir Gachannas Khalati Kvachit Evam Swaraihi Pranitanam Bhavantyartaha Sputa Iti. For which the commentator says, Atra Swarasahitenaiva Veda Shabdocharanaha Kartavyaha Ityabhidiyate. When we interpret the Vedas, remember, if we go by Max Muller, Griffith, William Jones, there is a problem. Because they did not study Sanskritam or the Vedas in the traditional way. What technically an English translator would do in those days is he will call 3-4 Brahmanas and he'll ask them to explain. And he'll pick parts from each of their commentaries and mix them together. It is called yericheri in cooking. And he will confuse us. Generally, in any language, remember this. If you remember this, interpretation becomes very easy. In any language, it could be the English language that I am speaking. It could be Kannada. It could be Tamil. It could be Malayalam. It could be Hindi. It could be Marathi. It could be Telugu. Whichever language. That language will have a dictionary, a Shabda Kosham. And one word may have one meaning. One word may have many meanings, anekarthaha. But how will you know which artham applies there? Based on the context in which it is used. It is there in any language. For example, in English, when I'm speaking, bring the kiwi fruit. Somebody listens to this word kiwi alone and he knows only Kannada. What is kiwi? Then he will not bring kiwi. He will bring the ear. Like how Shakespeare said, friends, Romans, and countrymen, lend me your ears. He will lend his ear, not the kiwi fruit. So, one word may have different meanings in different languages. One word will have many meanings in the same language. I am using the word kiwi for English and Kannada. Now, let's take the word kal in Hindi. Kal means both yesterday and tomorrow. So you understand what is the meaning of the word kal based on the verb that follows it. Kal मैं आया था, तब वो बन जाएगा yesterday. Kal मैं आऊंगा, then it will become tomorrow. Same spelling, same pronunciation, same language, two meanings. So we always interpret any language or any passage in any language based on the context. This is the generic rule, even in English. Whereas in Vedam, it is different. In Vedas, you interpret the meaning of the words based on the swaram. For example, the sound is Ajaha, then it means Brahma. Ajaha, then it means goat. So that is why in Vedic recitation, the swaram is very important. By mistake, if the person says, instead of Ajaha, Ajaha, he says, then the goat will come. You're able to get the difference between Sanskritam. See, people often think that Vedas are in Sanskritam. No. Sanskritam as a language is inspired of the Vedic language. Vedic language is different. This was the firm opinion of the Paramacharya of Kanchi, Chandrasekharendra Saraswati Swami, who is revered as Mahaperiyava, was of the very clear opinion that Vaidika Bhasha, Vedic language is like Sanskritam. It is not Sanskritam. So Vedic language is the right word to use. But if I tell all of this, none of them will agree today, because we have all become Twitter jnanis. So we read Wiki Purana, Twitter jnanis. So now it becomes very tough. Since you're all Astikas and Bhagavatottamas, I'm able to openly tell you what is the meaning given by the Acharyas. Now, I told you the importance of sound. There is one story associated with it. Thank God, sir. We need such stories. I will try inducing as many stories, but some passages will be tough as well. Mantrohinaha swarato varnato va mithya prayukto na tamarthamaha savagvajro yajamanam hinasti yathendra shatruhu swarato paradhat. It's a very prachina shlokam quoted by Panini, one of the greatest grammarians. What is the meaning of this shlokam? He tells, in the Vedic times, there was this Twashta, a person called Twashta. This Twashta he had some tussle with Indra. He wanted to kill Indra. But he did not have the strength, the valor to fight Indra. He had a son. The son was quite powerful. But to fight Indra, this boy needed more power. So Twashta performed a yagam. And in that yagam, he used a mantrocharanam. He said, Indra Shatro Vardhasva. Remember this line, Indra Shatro Vardhasva. What does Indra Shatru mean? Enemy of Indra. That also you don't know, sir, and you have started giving lectures. Indrasya Shatru, Indra Shatru. Indra's Shatru, or to the one, Indra Shatru Vardhasva. The other, see, there is one Samasa Padam in Sanskritam. you can interpret most words if they have come together as a combination of two words in two or more ways. Tatpurusha samasam, bahuvrihi samasam. Have you heard of Andal's father? Who's Andal's father? Periyalvar. In the Tamil tradition, he is called Periyalvar. There is a technical name which he has. He is called Vishnu Chitta. Now this Vishnu Chitta comes from two words, Vishnu and Chitta. So there are two ways of interpreting it. The one who has Vishnu in his Chitta, in his mind. The one who has Vishnu in his Chitta is called Vishnu Chitta. This is one interpretation. The one who is in the Chitta of Vishnu is called Vishnu Chitta. You're able to get the difference? So if you take the first interpretation, it means Periyalvar keeps thinking about Vishnu. So Vishnu is in Chitta. The second interpretation means Vishnu is thinking of Periyalvar. So Periyalvar is called Vishnu Chitta. This is called Tatpurusha Samasam and Bahuvrihi Samasam. Now Indra Shatru, what did Tvashta mean? Now Indra is an enemy to us. So the one who treats Indra as his enemy, that is my son, let his power increase. That is what is meant by Indra Shatro Vardhasva. There, while reading that Vedic passage, he had to say Indra in the Udatta Padam. In Shatru, he had to increase the through upwards. Instead of increasing it upwards, he made it downwards. Indra Shatru. He said Shatru. The moment he said Indra Shatru downwards, the Yagam gave Palan, but it gave based on the Swaram in which he said. Had he said it the right way, it would have meant that my son treats Indra as his enemy. Let him go fight Indra. For fighting Indra, let the strength of my son increase multifold times. Thereby let Indra die. This is what would have come as the rightful meaning. But when he went downwards in the Swaram, Indra got the power and he killed Tvashta's son. You're able to get the meaning? So that is why the shlokam says, now I will read the shlokam again. Mantro hinaha swarato varnato va. For instance, you recite the Vedic passages with the wrong swaras or without swaras. Mantro hinaha swarato varnato va. Mithya prayukto na tamarthamaha. Then the meaning of that passage will change. If it changes, Savagvajro yajamanam hinasti yathendra shatruhu swarato paradhat. Then whatever happened to Tvashta and whatever happened with that Indra Shatru passage will happen to us. That is why in Sri Mahabharatam, there was one child born as a result of his father's wrongful pronunciations. Can you tell who that person was? Somebody said, very good. Ashtavakra. Ashtavakra, that little boy, as a fetus inside his mother's womb, was listening to his father's Vedic passages. And the father was doing wrong Ucharanam. So the boy, as a fetus, hinted and told his father, you are reciting it wrongly. Then the father cursed him. I am doing it the right way. And since the boy was a recipient of wrong Vedic swaras, he had deformities in 8 places in his body. So he is called Ashtavakra. Sir, what should we do now? That is why we don't recite at all, sir. Only if we recite, we will get all these problems. So my basic point was to tell you that interpretation of Vedic texts is also an art. It is not easy. If you go to Google, Purusha Suktam, then that SEO will give you with meaning, with Kannada lyrics, with word by word meaning. And they will take one excerpt of it and then they will come for a debate. That is not the way traditional lectures work. So Swaram is very important. Udattascha anudattascha swarita prachitau tatha. Nighatascheti vigneyaha swara bhedastu panchadha. This is another shloka that tells What are the sounds that come in Vedic passages? See, Vedic passages will not operate like classical music. It will just go on three different octaves. It is called Udattam, Anuddatam, Swaritam. Then there is an extra sound called as Dirghaswaritam. These are the four ways in which it operates. There is one Prachayaha, which is the fifth sound, that is not of much importance to us as of now. But these we often say, right? Samagana lole salalita gunajale amba samagana. Interestingly, Tyagaraja deploys this in a very intellectual manner. Nabhi hritkantharasanana sadulello shodillo saptaswara dharadhruk samadulalo dharadhruk sa Madulalo. That Sama, he used the Swaraksharam there. So Sama Vedam, Sama Ganam we say. And we say that music comes from Vedam. But if you listen to the Vedic passages, Sahasra Sridhar Purusha, Sahasraksha Sahasravod, Sabhumim Vishwato Vritva, we will be doubtful. Sir, does this passage give rise to beautiful music? Inkem Kavale. Siddha has sung so well. You are telling from Vedic passages it comes, the shlokam says, Udatto Nishada Gandhara Anudatta Rishabha Daivatau. So whatever we call as Udattam, Anuddatam, Swaritam, Dirghaswaritam in Vedas have given rise to Shadjam, Rishabham, Gandharam, Madhyamam, Panchamam, Daivatam. Remember, people will be thinking, why is he calling Daivatam as Daivatam? Because in music, it is not small da, it is the larger da, it is Daivatam, not Daivatam. Daivatam. So, these are the swaras that come from the Vedam. So, till now, what have we understood? Amongst the Vedic passages, it is Purusha Suktam. Amongst Dharma Shastram, it is Manu Dharma Shastram. Amongst Puranas, it is Vishnu Puranam. Amongst the passages in Sri Mahabharatam, it is Bhagavad Gita. Swaram is very important in Vedic language. If Swaram changes, first instance, what is the example given if the Swaram changes? Indra Shatro Vardhasva. 1. 2. In Mahabharatam, Ashtavakra. Very good. Now we have understood till here. Now I'll tell you, Suktam means Uktam. Su. Uktam. Ukta. Ukta means to say. Uktam. Well said. Suktam means well said. So whatever is well said is called Suktam. Uktam. Supraja. Su generally in Sanskritam, take this rule. Whenever you use Su as a prefix, it means something good. Kausalya, good son. Correct? Praja means son. We are all Prajas. Right? Whereas Rama is Supraja, good son. Right? You ask many of the parents here, do you have a son? Yes, yes, he is my son. Is he your good son? They'll be doubtful. So that good is Su. So Suktam means Uktam, well said. It has been told very well. Now where does this Purusha Suktam appear? That is where it is a beautiful marvel. Now we need to understand Vedas. For that, again I'll give you some more foundation and then I'll get into the mantram. Certain passages when we say are prose in nature. We all speak in prose only. Remember, we all speak in prose. Get me water. Please get me some water. I am seated there. In which floor is it? All simple sentences. We speak in prose. But great people in those days thought the only way for generations further to remember our Shastras is only when we give in the form of poetry. That is why Ramayanam is in poetry. Adi Kavyam. Right? Adi Kavyam Ramayanam is poetry. But remember, Rama or Lakshmana wouldn't have spoken in this poetic fashion. I don't know how to see, for example, roses, roses all the way with myrtle mixed in my path like mad. The house roofs seemed to heave and sway. The church spires flamed. Such flags they had a year ago on this very day. Will anyone speak like this in your house? This is good only for recitation. Because only when, that is why all our rhymes, nursery rhymes, they're all in the form of poetry. They keep rhyming. So, poetry was one of the easiest ways to reach out to people. Prose was not that way. But Vedanta Deshika did one marvel. He gave one prose work which is very well remembered. Prose is called Gadyam. Poetry is called Padyam. So poetry is generally very easy to remember. That is why all our poets, Kalidasa, Bharavi, Magha, Harsha, all of them gave us poetry. Vedanta Deshika also gave us poetry, but he also gave one work called Raghuvira Gadyam. It is a prose work, but very beautiful to listen to. Now let's get back to the Vedas. Now, how did the Vedas come into appearance? We generally say Vedas were not authored. Correct? Appaurusheyam. Nobody authored the Vedas. But if I tell this immediately, our engineer son, whether he knows Bernoulli's theorem or not, he will ask all these questions. We, as colleges, we have been very successful to give rise to many woks these days. We are all in the era of woke. Anyways, now there will be a question, sir. If there is a book, there has to be an author. It can't fall directly from the sky. Correct. Question is correct. How did Vedas come into existence? There is one theory for this. For example, even now there is sonic waves here. But dogs have much better capability than us. They are much better in many ways than us. That is different. They have better things than us. Remember, snakes don't have ears, but they always go on the vibrations that they receive. So, Paramatma has been very benevolent in bestowing this art of listening to different creatures in different ways. What I listen to, which is music to me, may sound noise to my father. See, technically, let's be very frank. There are many wokes in the musical world also who say that classical music has to be appreciated by everyone. Correct. Everybody has to appreciate classical music. Nobody is stopping them. But it is very tough to appreciate the nuances of classical music unless and until you have had an atmosphere or you have been God gifted. See, somebody keeps Kamakshi Kanchika. It will take 20 minutes to complete this Swarajati. Shama Shastri Swarajati. Unless and until your ears have been tuned to Bhairavi and Yadukula Kamboji, you will not be able to appreciate. Just because you are not appreciating, it doesn't mean you are bad or the music is bad. Certain ears are not tuned to certain forms of music. We have to understand this basic law. See, for example, when I used to be in, okay, I have to tell you this. Now I've spoken about wokes and colleges. My discourses began while I was in my college. So during my college days, there was no question of, oh, this is a secular institution. What will happen if you say Ramayana? Nothing. At least my college encouraged. The person who was organized is also from my alma mater. And the person who manages this Bangalore international, he is also a Bitsian. So, there are certain colleges which also support and don't ask unnecessary questions on the civilization. Let's not put a blanket statement. Now, coming to the music, while I used to be in the hostel, some of my friends used to listen to Rammstein. Have you heard? You have heard Rammstein? There's some music. If you have not heard, don't worry. It's not something very important. Some form of music, I don't know, rock, jazz, I don't know. German. I could never appreciate even an iota of it. I'll tell you, probably God did not give me that great jnanam to appreciate that music. So let's be clear, though there are different genres of music, not everyone can appreciate every form of music. Though there are different creatures in this creation, every creature has its own level of understanding sonic waves. Similarly, amongst the Homo sapiens, human beings, there were certain select rishis who could decipher the sound in the atmosphere in certain patterns.
Dear Astika reader, I'm happy to be authoring a two-part book on the Ramayana in English. The first part is slated for release in the year 2024. The book aims to recreate and retell the Ramayana of Valmiki, conforming to the ancient commentaries and other allied literature. To receive notifications of the book release, kindly register with www.deshikadaya.org/books. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram Astikas. I'm tentatively scheduled to travel to Abu Dhabi and Dubai in the mid-February, to 7 cities in the countries of Australia and New Zealand, namely Adelaide, Perth, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Auckland and Wellington between the 25th of February and the 25th of March. I'm scheduled to travel to Singapore either in the month of April or January, and later I'll be rendering discourses in New Jersey, Boston, Maryland, Pittsburgh, and then in St. Louis and Indianapolis in the month of July. I'm sure you would love to share this message with your friends and relatives.